Wow. Higher education is easy.
Imagine if I'm a professor in America or England, I won't know much.
So Haileybury brings people together. So that's the message for Haileybury alumni, to stay together.
Tajikistan?
Yeah,
Kyrgyzstan?
it's trying to make your CV as full as possible. So then when you go to your next step, which you've done university, you're now going to employment. And that's the purpose of school and education, to then prepare you for work.
How important it is for Kazakhstani students to recognize that they're from Kazakhstan and their application looks different and very interesting. And here comes Haileybury Connect Kazakhstan. Yeah, when the camera is on, it's just a confident thing.
As soon as I'm on the stage with guitar, I'm a king.
Can I have an autograph from you?
I don't know if I could find it. We still got a WhatsApp group. I've got one story.
You taught me back in the UK. Pull everyone back, 15th anniversary, and then we can do that.
We need to start preparation now. Thank you very much for today, for making the time for Haileybury podcast, the very first ever. And it's going to be a pilot episode, so fingers crossed everything will be a success, and we'll continue recording this with many different guest speakers and many different guests in general. So for the first one, let's just introduce ourselves. Is it okay if I start with myself?
Go for it.
My name is Dilyara. I work at Haileybury Astana, and I run Haileybury Connect Kazakhstan, which is an alumni association of Haileybury Kazakhstan students.
Okay, I'm John Coles. I'm the headmaster director of Haileybury Astana.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Coles.
Thank you.
I'm Aida. I graduated from Haileybury in 2020. And now, I'm just living my life.
Sounds cool.
And my name is Anwar Sharipov. I'm housemaster of Balafred and a Russian teacher, class coordinator at Haileybury Astana.
Yeah, thank you very much again. So we're here today to discuss some general Haileybury insights, our memories about our experiences here at Haileybury, and about schooling in general in Kazakhstan and overseas. And as a warm-up, I suggest we talk about our school memories. So I am just wondering, what is your best memory of the school?
Personally,
what do
I
you
had
think?
loads. But I know for sure that I grew up on Mr. Anwar's songs. The Wrong Direction.
The One Direction one.
The wrong.
Wrong Direction.
Wrong
Direction.
Direction. Wow.
We had a band of teachers that always played, and Mr. Anwar was the main character.
He still is.
Is-
He still is. He's our Mr. Popular, as you said, actually. How about you, Mr. Coles?
Oh, going back to schooling. Okay, we're going back to the 70s, 80s and 90s here. My favourite memory of school probably was friends, actually.
It's all about people.
That's what I remember the most. I have very good friends. I'm still in contact with them. We occasionally meet up. We laugh about the teachers we had and what they were like, and all the teachers had their individual quirks. We were a boys' school, so we were quite ruthless to our teachers. I think it's friendship, really. That's what I remember the most.
Friendship is important. How about you, Anwar?
Well, I would say friends as well, because I don't know if I could find it. We still got a WhatsApp group with all our friends from school, and we still kind of like congratulate each other with birthdays, with weddings, with marriages, stuff. And yeah, it's amazing. And some teachers as well.
And did you go to the same school for 11 years?
Yeah, it was
Wow.
same school,
That's
and
wonderful.
had most of the same friends, and it's unbelievable.
Do you see your friends a lot, or do you see them infrequently?
Unfortunately, I've got probably no friends from school in
Yeah.
Astana. They are all over the world.
Yeah.
Some of them in the US, some of them in Almaty or Moscow or England. And but we are in touch, texting each other.
The reason I asked that is because we had a school reunion. So like an alumni. I'm an alumni, I'm an old Warwickian. And so I went back last year to Warwick School to see all my friends. Now, I hadn't seen some of these guys for 30 years. And of course, you still remember them when they were like 18 or 16, 16, 18. And the first thing I was like, my class have got a lot older. We've lost a lot of hair, or we've all gone grey, and we've all got a lot fatter. So it's amazing how when you still picture them as, James Hadley, 18. I meet him, he's like, James Hadley's 49, married, 3 children, and he's lost all his hair. Sorry, James. But
Yeah.
As for me, my best memories are also about people, but I changed schools 3 times, and one of the best memories I have is just meeting my current friends from school, and it was the 3rd school I went to. I still remember the very first September, which is a Knowledge Day here in Kazakhstan, and I got to meet them. We just introduced ourselves, like saying hi, where'd you come from, who are you? That was the best memory because we still keep in touch with those friends. And it's the warmest memory I have. And I'm talking about my 3rd school. And can't remember anything about my previous 2 ones because it was way too long ago.
I think the other thing I like is when you meet one of your teachers.
Oh,
Now,
that's perfect as well.
I remember I was 35 and I was at a conference, and the head of the conference was my old history teacher, and obviously he was now a director or something. Now I'm 35, he's 50, whatever, and I still had to call him sir. And I went up to him, he looked at me and I went, hello, sir. And he went, oh, you can call me Simon. I said, no, you are sir. And all my teachers, and I know them, I can't get over that. You're still my teacher. That's how things go.
Do you remember most of your teachers? I do remember a couple of them, which were my favorite ones. Who were my favorite ones, and I'm not sure if I remember their surnames right, though.
I think I can remember the ones who are kind of grey, I've forgotten about. The ones who we were terrified of, and we did have some of those.
Yeah.
Clearly remember those. And we got all the best stories about those. We used to have the teachers who we were asked, it was a boys' school, so we were not naughty. I'm not saying we were naughty, but if a teacher, we would challenge the teacher in various ways. And the teachers I remember most fondly, the ones who, although they were strict, you knew they cared about us. And my geography teacher, he was very strict old teacher, but he always cared. And he always kept saying, actually, no, because you weren't called first names and you were just called by surnames like Coles. You can do that better. And he kind of helped steer me when I wasn't sure what degree I wanted to do. So, yeah, I think teachers as well.
I've got one story, just quickly.
Yeah, share it.
Her name was Galina Ilyinishna. She was the oldest teacher in school, and everybody respected her, but everyone was scared of her, even like other teachers. So if we had lesson, another teacher would knock on the door, then open it, say, excuse me, can I please come to you, and like waiting for her reaction. But the funniest thing was that she was so old. She was like almost 70 years old, but she wanted to carry on teaching. And she didn't have eyebrows. So every morning she would draw her eyebrows.
Different colors?
No, probably the same color, like brown, I think, brownish. But sometimes she would draw them like this, but she would be angry with you. And every single time, you wouldn't know how to react, because sometimes her eyebrows would be like this, but she would smile. And she'd be like, well done, Anwar. I'll be like, do you really mean it? So we were so scared of her, but she was my favorite teacher. I wanted to meet her after maybe 3 or 4 years when I was back to my hometown. But the problem was she left.
She left.
And I don't even know if she is still alive. But, yeah. On that
sad
note.
note.
That is sad. That's a sad note. Shall we talk about our school, Haileybury Astana?
Okay.
Shall we start about the history of Haileybury Astana? When did we start?
Okay.
Where are we now?
So
What kind of school we are?
I was teaching at Haileybury UK, and the backstory behind this was, at that time in the early 2000s, we had a lot of Kazakh students there, and I actually taught a lot of those pupils, and their parents came over to Haileybury, which is a bit like a stately home, and said, we want the equivalent education in Kazakhstan. And so Haileybury Almaty was set up. So 20 years ago, I was actually involved, not particularly in a big way, but I was involved in recruitment. I was actually recruiting or interviewing teachers for Haileybury Almaty. So we used to do those interviews at Haileybury UK. And I knew the gentleman who was setting up, Alistair Bartholomew. He worked very closely with me. He actually was in my geography department. And then he went on and set up the school. And that was it. And then, obviously, Almaty was created, and then so that's almost 50. It's 15 years old this year, and then very soon after that, when Almaty was opened, and while you were in Almaty, it was then decided to build a Haileybury Astana, and I do remember being at Haileybury UK when I heard the next school was being opened. So that's when the two schools started. And it is quite strange now, because obviously those pupils who I taught at Haileybury UK, they're all grown up now, and I have actually met some of them. So that's the history of how Haileybury came to Kazakhstan. I can't comment about the start of the school, because you've been at both, and obviously I wasn't there, so I'll pass to you.
I've joined a Haileybury system, as John said, in 2009, and then after 2 years I moved to Haileybury Astana. And I remember the very first days of school. It was like we had something about 82 kids. And literally we had, I think, even numbers of teaching staff and kids, something like that, teaching and admin, I would say. And all the assemblies, everything we did all together. And then obviously like school was growing, and then when we had to kind of like separate junior and senior schools. But like, it's amazing how our school has changed so far, and what we had in the very beginning and what we've got now, it's a huge step. And to add in what you just said, in that we had Haileybury Alumni event in the ground floor outside the art department, music department, and I saw some people who finished Haileybury Almaty and they already got kids, and you're thinking like, wow. And the craziest moment when you realize how old you are is when...
That's the worst part.
Yeah, that's the worst part of the
worst
conversation.
part of it.
It's literally the very first leavers that graduated in 2019. They're the same age as I was when I just joined Haileybury Astana. And like, you're thinking, oh, wow.
We actually have a pupil in our current creche who's... I met the mum, and the mum came up to me and said, "Oh, hello, Mr. Coles, do you remember me?" And I was like, "No, I don't." She said, "You taught me back in the UK, at Haileybury UK."
Can you imagine?
And I was like, that's when you start to feel old. Oh. So I think the school has grown. And I know, I mean, speaking to Alistair Bartholomew about how the school was launched, it was Andrew Oster who was the first head. And I don't know which hotel they went to. They hired out one of the big suites, and they literally just launched. And it was a gamble at that time, and they were lucky enough to have enough parents who had enough, wanted their children to come to a kind of British international education, and you're one of the end products of that. So how's the school changed? I mean, what was it like when you were there?
When I first came to Haileybury, it was a small school. It seems so small.
When was it?
2012.
Yeah.
Because we only had Key Stage 2 and 1. And now that I'm in school as a volunteer, it seems so big as like a social bubble. We have co-ash going on, inter-house competitions, inter-school competitions, and it's just like it's everything everywhere happening.
Yeah,
And it's kind of, wow, I'm amazed.
The school's certainly grown. I mean, I've noticed that. I've been there, it's my 4th year, and we're now at about almost touching 670. So if you look at the number of pupils, when I was there, I think it was about 520. So, and particularly the junior school has grown, but also in the senior school, the corridors feel busier in the senior school. And yeah, I think during the COVID period, which I think was difficult for everybody, a lot of the parts of school life which are not just academic had to be put on hold. And you talked about, the sports events. Sports is massively important. The theatre, the drama, the music, all of that kind of stopped. And now, it's starting to come alive again. And that's what I enjoy about school. Yes, I like teaching, but I also like seeing everybody else, like today we're at the, inter-house football. Everyone's down there celebrating. We've got Olympiads coming, and those type of things. I think that's how the school is changing since I came, which was only 3 years ago. So it's changing, yeah.
I joined the school during the pandemic, and even though everything was on hold, I was amazed by how beautiful the school is. Not only about the facilities, but like academically, culturally, everything seemed so beautiful to me. But now, post-COVID, I can see how even more beautiful it is day by day, even though busier, but busy equals beautiful to me. B equals B. But yeah, it really is becoming greater and greater day by day. And it's just the teamwork.
The funniest thing
Teamwork
about
makes a dream work.
the funniest thing about Dilara coming to our school was
Oh my
that
God.
for probably a couple of months I didn't know what her face was because
Yes.
we were wearing masks.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I could see just her eyes and that's
Yes.
all. So I'll be like, if I see her somewhere in town, I would have never guessed that it's Dilara.
Yeah, actually, it was very difficult for me to familiarize, to remember everything, especially the expats and everything, and everyone, because of the masks. I couldn't distinguish who was who. Yeah, that was actually about the masks.
It was strange because I got to know parents
And parents.
while wearing, everyone's wearing their masks, and you used to recognise people with their eyes, and you think, well, maybe their face looks like that, and then when the mask came off, you're like, you look nothing like I imagined.
Yeah.
You always had to like relearn people's faces.
True story.
No, it was good.
Sad thing about COVID is that we didn't get to graduate.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
And then next year we see how the graduates are wearing robes, and it was so sad.
Yeah.
We wanted to text the school asking if we can do the same, but just like over summer as a class. But all of us are spread around
You're
the
around the world.
That
Yeah.
is actually an idea for your alumni reunion.
If you
I
did
don't
a
know,
reunion-
10th year or 5th year
Sorry, reunion.
reunions.
Yeah.
Then it's an idea to have this graduation format because you didn't have it. But you had it at uni, yeah? But it's not the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel the same.
Most of my friends are from school.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of friends from university, so plus also all of us were on different courses.
Of course. Yeah.
So I just celebrated with my parents mostly.
Because now what we do is the quad walk, which is kind of a tradition for Haileybury graduates. You see where you sit and your robes, and you do all the standard photos of throwing them up in the air. But yeah, if you get your guys together, we'd do that for you. We'd love to.
Yeah, Aida's class is our second graduation.
Yeah, that's right,
class.
yeah.
So maybe 5th year graduation anniversary or something.
Well, when we come
That's an
to
idea.
how old are we now? We're not 15 yet, but we'll be celebrating our 15th in 2.5 years' time. Maybe that's the time. Pull everyone back, 15th anniversary, and then we can do that.
We need to start preparation now.
I know. Thank
Because
you for
it
that.
takes time. Gathering everyone together is the most
It is, isn't it?
difficult part.
Yeah.
Yeah. As
absolutely.
Haileybury Kazakhstan, I can surely say so. Yeah.
Most of my classmates are like in US,
Yeah.
Japan,
Mhm.
Korea.
Even
India.
Almaty Astana is not like it is easy, but it's not the easiest task to gather everyone in the same city in the same time, and the venue should be the same as well.
I mean,
It's
just
tricky.
looking at my friends, I've still got my friends weren't as transient as probably modern day. I mean, your guys, you go all around the world. Most of my friends are still living in England. There's a lot of them who still live in Warwick. They haven't really moved, and they all think I'm mad because I've come out of England and I've gone to Kazakhstan. And why have you gone there? And I explain what a great place it is. But for you, and particularly, I think the school helps almost create that, is you can go to these different universities and you gain all these life experiences. And I think, okay, dropping my teacher hat on here, that's what I want my son to have. I want that opportunity to, because when I was at school, it was like, go to school, go to England university, you work, you die in England. And that was pretty much the life plan. But now you've been to university, you can work globally. And I think that's the exciting part of kind of doing, well, the IB program helps with that. But just being an international student. I agree, the IB program, it prepares you very well for university. It's very well recognised by top universities, but also that CAS element, the charity side. Yes, you could say, well, I just do that for the universities thing. And it does help, and the extended essay. So again, but it actually helps you develop, those links with charities. It helps you do, extended writing by yourself, which then you go to university, you've already done that. And when you go into business and all the world, and your boss says, right, write me a paper on something, you've got that experience. I think and also the other thing is, you are doing those 6 subjects, whereas if you do other choices, you narrow down. as the English would say, there's swings and roundabouts, which probably makes no sense at all, to what choices you can do. But the IB does prepare you well. I certainly want my son to do IB, and I've been in education now, which I tell everyone, 26 years. I've gone through numerous different systems. But for him, I think, that will help him. And just listen to what you just said. One was going to tick, that confirms it. So
Yeah, we had a guy from UBC, from Canada, last year, when he was talking to current year 13s when they were in year 12, when they just started IB program. And he said, the reason why we love having IB students is CAS. He said, just because we've got students with a good experience of organizing stuff, like some events at the uni, charity, and so on. And it's amazing. And you're thinking like, IB definitely is hard. But
Sorry, John.
it's good. It's good. It's good for students. It's good for students.
I remember one of my teachers saying that we had a talk about why IB is so important for us.
Right.
And he gave us an example as, so imagine A-level students have to hold 3 plates, but we have to hold 9 plates, and that's a huge advantage to us. We know more, we carry more knowledge, therefore we're ahead of a lot of contestants for the place in university.
I think I will say is I think when you're, age and wisdom is a great hindsight. And when you're 15 or 16, a lot of people go, oh, I'll choose A-level because it's easier. Okay, I accept that. But it's not easier. You actually have to do 3 subjects, but you do it in much more depth. So, yes, you're spinning 3 plates, but they are. IB has some other elements, particularly like TOK, theory of knowledge, CAS, extended essay, which makes you stand apart. So I've got a friend who works as an admissions tutor in a very, elite university. He will have for every place this number of applicants, and they're all academically top. Otherwise, they wouldn't apply. How does he separate them? He then looks at what they do, and it's not just the academic profile which will get you into these universities. It's what else you do. Now, as I said, students from Kazakhstan have a massive advantage, which I'm not sure everybody always understands. But if you think about it, if you're applying, I'm talking more about the kind of global universities. The Kazakh population is 19 million. It might have gone up a lot. So there's not a huge number of Kazakh nationals around the world. That makes you quite rare. Okay, remember that. At the same time, we all know that Kazakhstan is an amazing country, but its knowledge, particularly in Europe and America, isn't so widespread. Okay, I won't mention the film. There's one film which did Kazakhstan not a lot of favors. Okay, so
I love it.
okay.
I've never watched it.
Well,
No idea what's
you
involved.
just take it as a pinch of salt. But because of that, they don't always understand how good Kazakhstan is. Now, I had a classic example. I was in Almaty, and there was a boy, he was trying for Cambridge, and he was doing philosophy and economics. And I was doing a practice interview with him. And he came in, he spoke 4 languages, he lived in Almaty. I said to him, okay, tell me about your favourite philosophers. And of course, he went straight onto the standard European philosophers. And he'd researched it, absolutely fantastic. I said, yeah, really good interview, but I won't offer you the place. And he looked at me and said, why not? I said, because you've missed the golden thing. Where are you from? He said, I'm from Kazakhstan. I said, so you're telling me that in Kazakhstan there are no great philosophers? And he went, well, yeah, I mean, Abai, for example. And he could quote me more. And I said, well, imagine if I'm a professor in America or England, I won't know much about Abai. I will know everything about every philosopher in England. Why don't you tell me something which interests me? So he went away, he practiced this, he talked to me about various great Kazakh philosophers, Russian philosophers. I was enthralled because I knew nothing about these. He went to Cambridge and he was offered a place, and he still had to get a high score to get in, but it was the lowest score I'd ever seen to get into Cambridge. And I wrote to the professor, I said, well, it's fantastic. And he said this guy was so interesting because he was talking about something, he was talking about a country he knew very little, the professor knew very little about, The boy was multilingual. He'd done the community service. He'd done the extended essay, done the theory, okay. And he was an interesting person. And that is what you need to get to good universities. And therefore, being in Kazakhstan is a huge advantage. Really is. Sorry, I sidetracked there.
That's a
Also,
cool
I
story.
think IB is good for creating friendships. Because IB is hard, but then it gets so much fun once you're with friends. And we have a lot of deadlines. We had a lot of deadlines to do, and we were not smart enough to complete them on time. And we would usually sit in a group and then just all whine about how we have to do everything.
And
So
get things done.
Yeah.
Get together.
Yeah.
Together.
And we had to motivate each other, cry on someone's shoulder, eat together. Until nowadays, we still talk.
I think
With
that,
everyone.
IB.
I mean, obviously I did A levels. IB didn't really exist when I was there. We were just as bad at deadlines. Trust me, just because I run a school doesn't mean I was any good at deadlines. I was your typical teenage boy, as my mother was constantly reminding me about never doing deadlines. But yeah, it does pull you together with your friends. You're like, oh. And of course, what we always used to do is the teacher would set the deadline and we'll go, okay, fine, we've got plenty of time. And of course, you'd forget that all the other teachers would set other deadlines. And there'd be like a rugby match or a football match. Oh, I'll do that. And of course, then suddenly you'd end up with like 4 deadlines, which is not what people should be doing. Of course, you should be pre-planning them, but I wasn't a model student in that way. I've learned from that. And probably to me, the IB probably would have been a bit more structured for me.
There's not such a big difference, to be honest, between pupils and teachers as well. We all sometimes miss some
human
deadlines. And like,
Are you
sometimes,
admitting that on camera?
I heard.
Cut.
Not
We'll
me.
just cut that bit out, don't
Yeah.
worry.
But also, we also like sometimes seems like we cry, find the shoulder to cry on.
Sure.
Because like teachers are also stressed with IB as well. Because like we really care, and we do really care about students' results. We also waiting for them, like, and when we receive in the summer that report, you always like, boom, and like you start, and it doesn't matter like if it's not just about your subject. You just go about every single kid.
Yeah.
Because you taught them or you've known them for like 5, 6 years, 8 years and stuff. And yeah, it's like, yeah, we all quite stressed.
Yeah, when the results come through, now the one advantage is the school will always get them 24 hours in advance. And there's only 2 people who can see them. So that's basically me and the exams officer.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to know pupils as they grow up. And they start off in junior school, and then year 7 they have the big rucksacks. And then as they grow up, and by the time they leave at year 13, they are adults and they have their own personalities. And you get, there's a different relate. And you sit and look at their grades, and you think, excellent, excellent. And you just want them to do well. You just want them to do well. And it's still, and then results day, and the results, now they're all emailed out at midnight. I remember you had to come to school to collect your piece of paper. And people always used to do it different ways. Some people would run off into a quiet room to look at that. Other people would open it there. And results day is still very important. It's one of the best days, because then you go, not always, but hopefully, if you've got everything in plan, it will go well. And then you as a teacher or as a school have done your part. And then you've gone on to university. You can't stay at school for the rest of your life. You've got to move on. You've done your IB, you've gone to university, and now you're moving kind of into the work world, which is another new adventure and another new journey. But I think as a school, any school in particular we try as well, is to try and give you all the skills. Because people always say to me, what should we be studying? I said, to be honest, there's that classic line, in 20 years' time or 10 years' time, half the jobs which are going to be happening, we don't even know about. So it's more about the skills. And I think IB does give you those skills. And you're going to do, I think, when I went to work, most people would probably do 2, maybe 3 careers. And the number for you guys now is up to about 6 or 7. So you do a few years, you change, and that's much more the norm. So you can't know everything, it's the skills. So
It's great to hear that nowadays the teachers and everything and everyone is for the kids. I mean, they keep their fingers crossed for university destinations, IB results, and every single detail about the kids' school life. was it the same before? Shall we talk about schooling before and nowadays? Because when I was in school, that wasn't that much long time ago, but still a bit earlier than you, for example. And I don't really remember teachers being like the biggest fans of us. Some of them, yeah, but not massively. That wasn't a very popular trend, to be honest. They didn't care about like what was my score for my end results, or maybe they did, but for their
didn't show
own
it.
reports. Yeah, or I don't know. It's just they never asked. The school never asked, where am I? What was my result? What's my university destinations? Where am I? Where am I now? They were like, oh, oops, sorry. You're gone and bye.
One of the best things you can do is ever dig out any of your old school reports. Okay, so being the oldest one here, I'll tell you about my school. So it was a very traditional school. A lot of our teachers we thought were ancient, and a lot of them had come from the army, so they were quite strict.
That's a good background.
And I remember I had my school report when I was about 8, and the form tutor comment for the whole year was, well done. That's all I got. My maths needs to work harder. And you look at that, and nowadays when you think about reports and what you write about, there were no targets there. I can remember the majority of our lessons, we were scared as pupils. The teachers were very, very strict. You know, in the school I went to, teachers would still throw chalk at you. You'd stand up and they'd throw a piece of chalk at you if you got it wrong. But we had great teachers. I'm not saying they're all like that, but we had some very, very strict teachers. And those teachers where you were scared to go into their lessons. I can remember I had a physics teacher I just couldn't get physics. Next year when I got a different teacher, I understood it. So scared. And we were so scared whenever test days used to come up, because if you didn't get like 90%, the humiliation would just start at you. And for that year, every one of us would try and be the grey student. You'd just blend in. You would just blend in. And we had another English teacher who we called Rocky. That wasn't his real name, so, yeah. But he would get super angry about everything and go bright red. And he would pick on anyone at random. He would then shout at them for a good 15 minutes and go out the classroom. We'd all like breathe. He would then like seem to regain his power of angriness and then come back and shout at the same person again. And he did this like once a month. So we always used to kind of negotiate, like trade off who he hasn't shouted at for a while. Because we knew if we let him shout, he kind of got it out of his system, and then the rest of the month he was fine. But when I think about that then, and the teaching, which, you know, I've seen teaching change. I have seen teaching change a lot, and how much it's much more pupil focused. It's much more about getting pupils to think. When I was at school, it was just rote learning. You know, when was the Battle of Hastings? 1066. There was no thinking involved. It was just learning facts and figures. Now it's much more about, you know, getting pupils to think in a safe learning environment.
Yeah.
I think that's the key thing.
I think lots of things depends on the system as well, area of support. If there is because this area of teaching area is quite very specific and very interesting one, because I believe not everyone can be a teacher. And those teachers who stay there in the hearts of pupils are those who probably should be teachers, who love their
Teacher
job.
by heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Not by profession.
Exactly. But trying to remember my time in school, it was 90s and 2000s. It was crazy, because I believe teachers could never see our different side, because we would never have some inter-house competition. We would never have houses, or maybe their salaries were not good enough, or maybe because they knew that they are not going to be supported in different ways. Because I think lots of things depend on atmosphere in school. And if teachers know that there is support, if they know that there are different things and there are opportunities to see the child from different perspective as well, not just because it's your subject, but also you can see it. Because And we're all different. Some of the kids, they're good at maths, but they are rubbish at languages, and vice versa.
And it's okay.
And it's absolutely fine. And when the teacher can see this person performing on stage, this teacher might think, wow, I never thought that she could sing, or she's such a great gymnastic, or whatever. So I think we are quite lucky with our school, and it's my 15th year at Haileybury, and I love it. I love it.
What do you,
Absolutely.
Aida, think about the teacher's role and importance in your life as a Haileybury student, Haileybury former student?
I loved school, so I loved all the teachers that taught me. I still remember every name, even my first teacher in Haileybury, Mr. Smith. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Matt Smith. Oh.
I have loads of memories still, which I keep replaying, and I loved school, and it was a very sad moment when I found out that boom, it's COVID, and we had to.
Teachers do definitely positively influence
Yeah.
the kids, because as Haileybury Connect Kazakhstan representative, I do meet with our school alumni. From time to time, they come and do school visits. And the very first thing they ask when they come to school is Mr. Sharipov in school? Is Miss Elena in school? Is Mr. Coles is still in Kazakhstan? Or they keep asking about teachers, because school is not only about like how many pages you read, how many pieces of writing you produced, or how many deadlines you missed or you met. It's all about people you meet, the friends, the teachers, and they actually come after the teachers. And it's a pity, for example, when the graduates of our 2019, the very first graduates of Haileybury Astana, they come and they only see a couple of teachers who used to teach them back then. That's because of the international environment here at Haileybury. That's because when you have teachers from different countries, they don't stay here forever. Yeah, so teachers, that makes us think that teacher is the most important person that you have in school, because you can trust this person. It's not only about academic support, but also cultural support. It's mental support. It is your support system here in school. And I wish I had the same memories, but I'm not sure I have them. But I have never thought about that. But I'm very glad that our kids here at Haileybury have it. And it's a privilege. No one maybe here in Astana has it the same. I can't say it loud.
I'm not commenting.
Please
So
don't.
nothing.
Yeah. So that's beautiful. Teacher is important. And our alumni and our current students, I'm sure they will forever remember the teachers.
I think the alumni is
I
very
think they
important.
said
I mean,
representation.
I'm an alumni of my old school, and obviously you'll be an alumni of your university as well. And you get probably the newsletters which tell you what's going on. But what I like is, and my school doesn't do nearly as much as what you do for the alumni thing, is, little videos. It's good to see, you guys coming back.
Yeah.
I would love to see, when I go back to, or when we go back, to have that post on social media. England's quite traditional with social media. We're miles behind where Kazakhstan is. So everything comes in a newsletter, a nice good 6-page newsletter, and you have to scroll down. You think, I remember I was him at school, he's done this, he's that, or sadly, so he might have died. But no, trust me, that does happen. But the social media side is really good. And, we've obviously got that event in January, haven't we?
Yeah.
Which I hope if anyone's watching and they are alumni, it would be great for people to come.
Have you seen my stories at Haileybury Alumni?
Yes, I have. Sorry, you put me
So
on the
good.
spot there, and I was thinking, no, yeah, I have seen on those. Yes, I do. I'm always they're good actually.
So good.
Yeah.
Personally, I think
She's good with content creation. She studied sports science, but I thought, Aida, you should have studied media.
no.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so the importance of alumni networks. What do you think, as an alumni of Haileybury Astana? How important is it for you to keep in touch with other schoolmates, your fellow graduates, not necessarily about your cohort, but other year groups?
Very important. Because we used to spend a lot of time in school together, and I think it would be a pity if we lost our connections. I think making friends and still keeping in touch with people that you've known is important in your life. They motivate you. They make you live through their life. They make you feel happiness and proud of someone who
Shares
Yeah.
experience with you.
shares his happiness.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's good.
I keep check on Haileybury.
Yeah, that's good to know. That's good to know. It is useful, and it will be even more useful because we're still new.
I mean, I
Just
think
getting there.
the alumni, I mean, like, this is, maybe people can educate me on this one. I mean, the alumni program has existed in English schools for many, many years. You know, and you also have them in the US colleges and things like that. Now, I know we already do at Haileybury, but in other schools within Kazakhstan, do alumni, or is it more kind of unofficial? It's just friends staying in touch with her. How does it work in other schools in Kazakhstan?
In my school, it never been the case. I mean, like, we just got WhatsApp group,
Yeah.
and that's all. And I remember that history teacher that I mentioned before with eyebrows. What she done, she basically, it was, I think, our last lesson, pre-last lesson,
Yeah.
and she brought envelopes, and we wrote letters.
Yeah.
And we gave each other word that we're gonna meet up in 5 years' time and open those envelopes. So we had to pick somebody who will keep all those envelopes. And my classmates, they managed to meet up.
Wow.
I couldn't be there. I don't remember why. I think, because I was teaching at Haileybury Astana. Yeah. I think it was somewhere like in June or something, and we were still working in June. But it was amazing. But also, like, what I want to add about alumni, the greatest thing, in my opinion, is also like sometimes our students, they go to study in Japan or they go to study Switzerland or whatever, and having alumni, we kind of tracking them. We can tell them, if you go into Tokyo, there are 2 students from Haileybury Astana, and you can make connection with them, and they can help you to settle down, just like with anything. It's just amazing. And like, not only maybe keeping in touch with your former classmates, but also make new relations, friendships.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I mean, so which exists a lot in the UK, and I think I appreciate we have a young alumni is, so from my school, the alumni is going back quite a few years, many, many years. And when I was in England, I just come out of university and I was looking for a job. I approached the school and said, look, this is what I wasn't a teacher at the time. I wanted to go into financial aspects, and getting into those markets was really, really tough. And so the school said, well, actually, there's 2 or 3 people there who are old Warwickians. We will make the contact with them. And I actually went and saw one of these guys, because in those days, mobile phones had just come out. But you still had to, there's no Zoom or anything like that. So I actually went and saw this guy, and he said, look, you need to be looking at this, this, and this. And he was really, really helpful, because at the time I didn't know which area in the finance world I wanted to go into. And he told me about this. I said, oh, that's nice. He said, right, go for that. So actually talking to someone who was that connection was able to help steer my career. Now, I appreciate at the moment you're one of the first alumni, but I hope that as this grows, then actually we can, students who think, well, actually, do you know what, I'd like to do that. You speak with them and say, well, actually, and it's that kind of link which can be really, really powerful, and something which we need to develop. Yeah.
It's like the perfect example is Sophia, who just graduated from Haileybury this June. She's going to uni, which Aida finished.
And Aida was the first Kazakhstani student at your university, right? Or the first Haileybury?
Just say yes.
First
The
Haileybury.
first Haileybury, okay.
I think there were people who did PhD and masters, but not in sports science.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was the first one.
Because you were at
in the
Loughborough, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loughborough.
Yeah, which is, if you just to plug it here, is Sunday Times did the top 10 universities.
There still are.
Yeah, no, Loughborough was there. I mean, really good university. No, it's a great university.
Yeah, and it's also good to have someone at the university that you're going to.
Yes.
We do have this experience at Haileybury Connect Kazakhstan, like this year, class of 2023 lady, she approached me and asked if there is someone from Haileybury at this university because she's going there next year, and she would like to have someone she knows before she goes there, or when she goes there, because it just makes things easier. And so Haileybury brings people together. So that's the message for Haileybury alumni, to stay together.
Sounds like
Stay in
Nokia, yeah?
touch. Yeah. Connecting people, that's
Connecting
right.
people.
That's why Haileybury Connect Kazakhstan. Haileybury connecting people.
Follow me on Instagram.
Yeah.